Anthropomorphism is the act of giving life to an inanimate object. Shortened and switched, morphin-tho is the point where inanimacy and life connect. If the apparel industry was Broadway, morphin-tho would be likened to the innovative style of Five Guys Named Mo. Not just because of its sleek prowess to the third power, but because the company recognizes the environmental clock and the lateness of its hour.
You've got to be kidding me.
That's 100% plastic.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, it's got elasticity and
Soft.
How does it smell?
It smells okay. I have to smell it for sure.
That's pretty amazing.
The plastic bottle has become an intricate part of our society. From water to soda to juices, plastic bottles have proven themselves as the convenient and marketable packaging option. But we've all heard the story of the plastic bottle, its impact on our environment, and where it eventually ends up. This, however, is not that story. This is about a company called Morph and Throw, whose founders, Jerome Sapp, Chris Yura, and Glenn Earl, all played football at Notre Dame and went on to play in the NFL for several years. It is a story of how this company takes those same plastic bottles we all drink from and creates a new consumer option in athletic wear in an attempt to revolutionize the performance apparel industry.
Last year, three gentlemen came to me and they wanted to create a performance activewear line using recycled fabrics.
morphin-tho is the future of athletic apparel. You know, we find ourselves being on the cutting edge of being progressive in the yarns we use. We actually make all of our performance apparel out of plastic bottles. The same bottle you drink from at the gym, you drink from at work, the same thing you recycle. We actually upcycle it into a usable, comfortable, durable yarn and make performance wear out of it.
People don't realize that conventional fabrics come from things that our world needs. There's enough plastic bottles used in the world in a year that can go around the earth 10 times. When you talk about recycling in general, I mean, people know what it is, but most people don't see the byproduct of it. You know, they throw things in a bin, but they're not necessarily knowing what happens to it afterwards. What Morphin-tho does shows somebody what happens to it afterwards and upcycles it into something amazing.
About 10 or 11 years ago, was the first time that I saw where they could take a plastic soda bottle and they could break it down, recycle it, and make it into garments. And at that point, it was made into fleece garments. It was not made into anything of a very fine quality product.
It took research, and there's obviously pioneers of this technology. And you know, we're lucky to be in the time and place we are in the world that it's needed now, and we're just kind of we're coming into being now too. So it was good timing for a lot of reasons.
And to see from that point where it started and where it's come to is just amazing. In order to have right now to have a product launch, you know, several months away. To think that these fine cut circular knits, these fine cut athletic fabrics are going to be in the marketplace is leaps and bounds over where the market was just 10 years ago.
Sounds great. You know, I don't care whether it's made out of a synthetic, or it's made out of cotton, or it's made out of some nature fiber, or whatever it is. If it can be recycled, then that's the way to go. Because somewhere down the road, look at how much trash this whole world creates every day, and what are we going to do with it? Put it in a hole and let it become some kind of gas that blows us up down the road 50 years from now?
This is the All-American Recycling Corporation. There are recycling plants just like this all across the country. Unfortunately, due to lack of infrastructure and tenacity of the human will, recycling programs are still not where they ought to be. Most recycling plants receive everything lumped together as garbage and have to sort through tons of trash manually in order to rescue recyclable products. In this case, PETs or plastic bottles. All the bottles are separated and run up a huge conveyor, allowing for the last manual filtration. The bottles are then compacted and bound together to be sent off for pelletizing.
Morphinthos promises to reinstall the prefix re into America's current existence, so the concepts clean air and pure water will not be in our future words of past reminiscence. The prefix re holds the key to all of our soul's dreams. My dream is for my grandkids, 3 generations removed, to be able to play outside without wearing aluminum suits to make them burn-proof. Because at the rate the ozone is fading, just thinking about summer 2039 puts third-degree burns on my mind.
Regardless of what side of the fence you stand on about global warming, it is obvious that we all have some definitive, irrevocable impact on our environment. From depletion of the ozone to polar caps melting to extinction of various species and unbearable heat waves, it is clear that we are headed in the wrong direction. Morph and Throw doesn't claim to be the singular solution to this problem, but instead a consumer option that helps. What is zero growth? It is the refusal to use any new natural resources in the creation of consumer products. Instead, the decision to reuse what we already have by recycling it, which in turn reduces our energy consumption. In the apparel industry, the primary virgin resource used is cotton. Compared to an already available plastic bottle, cotton requires a significant amount of resources and energy to grow.
By 2025, 1 in 3 people will be living under water stress. That's a humongous figure, and it has direct effects to agriculture.
From the onset of the cottonseed being sown, it requires exorbitant amounts of water outside the natural means of rain in order to sustain the proper growth of the plant.
The Aral Sea used to be the largest freshwater body of water in the world. Now it's reduced to 15% of its original size due to irrigation to cotton fields in Uzbekistan. And that's just unheard of. I mean, that affects communities, not just water usage, but you talk about governments that are draining natural resources to aid in cotton growth.
In Texas, the highest growing cotton region in America, it needs just under a ½ inch of water per day in a region that may only get up to 18 inches annually.
Water is a finite thing on our planet. Actually 1% of our water in the whole planet is drinkable.
Conventional farming methods use pesticides and insecticides, which essentially not only pollute the air, but also the surface water and the groundwater.
The irrigation techniques practiced all across the world in reference to cotton growth are extremely wasteful and thus harmful. Cotton is grown on less than 2% of U.S. farmland, but accounts for 25% of pesticides sprayed, and in third world countries, estimates suggest that up to 50% of pesticides used is on cotton. Can we begin to imagine how much unnecessary damage that does to our water supplies and inhabitants of these eco-habitats, both human and animal?
Water is a key player in the future. Your water footprint as a country, as a company, is just as important as your carbon footprint.
Again, from the soil cultivation to planting, through nurturing and harvesting, cotton production requires the use of different heavy-duty machinery, which all run on diesel, a byproduct of crude oil. America is the largest consumer of oil, coming in almost 3 times as much as the second largest consumer, China, which ironically is more than 3 times the population of America. Even the irrigation of cotton farms typically requires oil-run machinery to pump the water from nearby water pockets to the farms, or oil-fueled jets to fly over and spray pesticides. Conversely, oil has already been used to make the plastic bottles we all drink from, and is now simply recycled to make your performance apparel, which can in turn be recycled over and over again without any degradation in quality, as opposed to a cotton-based product.
I'm sure you've heard a pound of our yarn saves a ½ gallon of gasoline. What does that mean? I'm sure you heard it a million times. What does that really mean?
This means that technically, if all the apparel made from cotton in the US alone, last year, was made from recycled plastic bottles instead, we would save over 577 million gallons of gasoline. That is enough to drive to Neptune and back, in a Hummer.
If you're an environmentalist or not, it's just a matter of economics. We're dependent on oil, and what we wear is made out of oil. If we recycle that, then we're actually decreasing our dependence on the people who maybe we're depending on oil from.